Hey guys, it's Anya here. Welcome to my easy vector art in Adobe Fresco tutorial where I will walk you through the whole process of creating a vector illustration in Fresco. First of all, when you're creating a new document, you don't have to worry about the resolution and the file size because vector graphics can be scaled to any size without any loss of quality. So just choose the size of the document that you like, it really doesn't matter. Let's have a look at all the different vector brushes that we have in Fresco. You can really experiment with all of them, but I personally prefer just a simple round brush. In the bottom left corner you have a panel with size and also smoothing options. I'm going to demonstrate to you the difference. This is me trying to draw without any smoothing, and this is the same drawing but with smoothing turned on to maximum. You see that it's making your lines much more, smooth. There are also some other brush settings. For example, if you prefer, you can switch on pressure and velocity. Sometimes I actually prefer to switch them off just to get a simple, consistent line, but it's entirely up to you guys, whichever you prefer. You can really play around with these settings and choose the style that you like best. I'm going to switch this layer off and make a new layer. I'll quickly walk you through the different palette and color palette options in Fresco. I actually use Adobe Fresco with Creative Cloud Library, and all my color palettes are synchronized under my library tab. But you also have some Fresco colors here by default. I get my color palettes from an app called Adobe Capture, and I've got a different video which explains everything about color palettes. The link is going to be on top of this video. What I usually do is, when I'm creating vector graphics, I usually start by creating it in black and white, and I put every shade on its own layer because it's easier to edit it later and change the color. Let's import a photo that you're going to be tracing from into Fresco. You can reposition the photo, you can make it the size that you need, and then we will start tracing on top of it. I usually put the opacity down to about 20% so that I can see what I'm drawing on top of this photo. I'm going to walk you through 3 different options of how you can trace a photo in Adobe Fresco with vector. The first option is simply to trace and then use a paint bucket tool to fill inside the layer. You can also use this really handy button to erase part of the illustration that you don't like, you don't want, and you can see sometimes it doesn't work perfectly, but still it's a really cool tool. Now let's try to trace the same object but with smoothing option turned on to max. You will see that the lines are much more precise now. So you can really go for any option you like, it depends on the style that you prefer. And here is a relatively new tool which is called Shapes. With this tool you can simply create a shape like a circle and then click Fill, and you will get this really crisp and geometric shape. And again, depending on the kind of look you're going for with your illustration, it might be something that you want to go for. This will make your illustration look much more graphic. On a different layer, I'm going to add a little bit of detail. I'm actually tracing a drawing of a flower, and I put each color, each different shade on a different layer because it makes it much easier for me to edit later on. And as I said before, I prefer to create a black and white drawing first and then color it in only when I'm working with vector graphics. And it doesn't matter at this stage if you go outside the boundaries of the circle, because I'm going to use an eraser tool to erase these extra lines afterwards. I really like drawing vector illustration in Fresco, first of all because Fresco is an incredibly easy program to use. You get all the different controls. I find it much more easy than on Adobe Illustrator desktop app, and it's just something created for drawing experience. So I definitely recommend, if you've never tried vector art before and you're a bit nervous to start, then start with Fresco, not with Adobe Illustrator desktop version, because Fresco is just so much easier, more user-friendly and much more enjoyable. You can see now that I'm going to use an eraser tool to erase all the bits of the artwork that come outside the boundaries of a circle, because I'm creating a drawing of a flower and I want it to look quite neat. Vector illustration is perfect if you're creating a pattern design. If you're interested in creating pattern designs, I actually am launching a course, an online course about vector patterns. And if you're interested, I will put a link into the description of this video and you can check this course out. I'm going to be sharing all my tips on drawing vector in 3 different programs: Adobe Fresco, Adobe Illustrator Draw, and also capturing patterns with Adobe Capture. I will also tell you where I get the references from, and I will show you the process of finishing the illustration in Adobe Illustrator desktop program to create the final artwork. So I am almost finished with my illustration. And actually, to be honest with you, I prefer the hand-drawn shapes more, but that's just my personal choice. Obviously, you can try to use the shape tool or try the smoothing option when you're illustrating. By the way, if you're watching and suddenly you get a question, please ask it in comments and I will reply to you, and I might even record a different video just to answer your specific question. Adding the last layer, you can see now that I can reorder the layers as I'm making new layers. And I'm just going to draw the stalks of these flowers. When I'm drawing from the reference, I am not trying to recreate the image exactly as on the photograph, because then what's the point of having an illustration? You could just use a photo. Instead, I'm interpreting what I'm seeing on the photo and simplifying, and I'm really just following my gut instinct. But obviously it took years of looking at art and making art to develop this sort of intuition. However, some people get it naturally. So really just trust your feelings, and if your image doesn't look right to you, just stop and change it. You can always undo when you work with digital art, and this is why I love it so much. It's very enjoyable and you can change it as many times as you like. Now the fun part, I'm going to change the color of my different layers. Because everything is on different layer, it's very easy for me to just click with the paint bucket tool and change the colors really fast. This is the reason why I have put each different shade of gray onto different layer, because you can see now I can easily change the colors. And if I wanted to say transform a shape, make something bigger or smaller, again, it's much easier when it's all on different layers. I am using just default Fresco color theme. You can find more color themes in Adobe Color website. I've added the background and just make a note that when you are filling the background color, it asks you if you want to have it as vector or raster. Always choose vector because you want to have all the elements of this artwork as vector. Right now I have merged all the layers into a layer group, and you can see now that I can really easily transform this illustration and move it around the page if I wanted to add more elements and make it into a pattern. My next steps for this illustration will be to create more drawings using the same colors that I've already used and develop it into a pattern design. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope that I helped you and that you've learned something new today about vector art on Adobe Fresco. Subscribe to my channel to learn more about Fresco and illustration. See you next time.